Welcome to the Featured Anime Podcast. I'm your host, Jack.
And I'm Rick.
And today, we're talking about Children Who Chased Lost Voices, which was a recommendation by Angel, our friend from Chile. And I have mixed feelings about it.
Okay. And why?
Well, before we really delve into it, we were talking about Yu-Gi-Oh cards, how we used to play, the god smacking that I used to do before we actually learned the rules of the games all those years ago.
Yeah.
And we talked about Junji Ito collection, just a plethora of stuff. You want to catch a part of the wider conversation. Patreon.com/featured anime podcast. $1 a month will get you access to that bonus content and more. And now, onto the meat and potatoes. Children Who Chase Lost Voices came out in May 2011. It's a studio. It's by the studio of Co-Mix Wave Films. Producers for it are Media Factory and Movic, just to name a couple. And it's an original, so there is no source material for this. Genres for it are action, fantasy, adventure, and romance. And I say action because there is a little bit of action in there. And it ran for about an hour and 50 something minutes, almost 2 hours.
Okay, yeah, that sounds about right.
Mm-hmm. So I feel like for this one, for the show, they really did it solid justice for the background. For the scenery, for the everything going around it, having to deal with it, but not so much for the people. I feel like they kind of, for the people, were lacking, I
don't know if they were lacking so much as they didn't have diversity in their character scheme.
Right.
So what I mean by that is, well, yes, it was a little bit by design, I would say, difficult to tell Shun from Shun. Shun from Shin. Yeah, sorry. It was a little difficult to tell them apart, but that's because they were brothers and they were family.
Yeah, but I'm not talking about that. I'm not even closely talking about that. I'm talking about just in general the artwork for the people I felt lacking. How their movements, how they look, everything about them just kind of really felt off to me.
Okay.
When you compare it to the scenery, which is just amazing.
Immaculate. So I have two problems with this anime, and they actually show up fairly soon. And by fairly soon, I mean within the first 10 minutes, my original problem arose. And it's when she's running next to the railroad tracks. They did a really, really good job in not stop motion, but in action scenes, in motion scenes. But I felt really motion sick, like real motion sick when I was watching her run up there. And granted, it only lasts for a little bit. And I think it has to do with a little bit of computer generated imagery mixed with the drawing. And so it was the art style that I had a problem with. And I actually wrote this one down because this stood out to me. 25 minutes in, for no apparent reason, you got two dragonflies 69ing each other. 25 minutes, like it was 24 minutes, 50 seconds, something like that. All it was is just insects and then water in the back, and then they flew away. And you're like, what was the point in that?
Showing you nature in all its glory. However, I don't think that's what they were doing. But then again, I am not I'm not one to know about the mating habits of insects, unfortunately. So I could not tell you. But CJ in our chat does say that Rick would watch the insect sex.
I hear you. I don't necessarily agree with you, but I hear you. No, it was weird. And I was like, that's not what I would like to consider to be normal, but it is what it is, whatever. But yeah. And there was obvious discrepancies in the characters, I would say. But I would say actions were a little bit off as well. For instance, how would you feel if someone were to pick you up, princess style, and jump off of a bridge? I'd freak the hell out.
Well, hang on.
Okay.
That's you and I. That's you. I would be just like Asuna. I would fall madly in love with him after knowing absolutely nothing. Obviously, that's the correct answer. That is the correct answer. I have no idea who you are, but I am now madly in love with you. You saved my life, and you jumped off a bridge to save me.
Perfect sense, man. Perfect sense.
Our lives are now forever intertwined.
Forever and ever.
And ever.
And ever and ever and ever.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Now,
makes perfect sense to me.
So what I find funny is, her eating actions and everything like that too. Because when you first see her, she eats a whole sandwich in 2 bites.
Yeah.
Right?
And then he barely takes a minor. I'm like, okay, so you're looking.
He takes a normal bite after she eats half a sandwich in 1 bite, and then she starts little nibbles. Like, oh, I need to eat daintily now. Like, what? For real? Like, that's what you're gonna do? I will say this. I'm glad that they drew the food in her mouth while she was talking, because she took a bite. She took a bite and then starts talking. It's like, all right.
The attention to detail was really good.
It was.
So it was impressive, and I enjoyed it thoroughly. Even up to, you're right. And I wanted to say that some of the people had interesting, the way they were drawn was interesting, but that's not quite it. And the way that things go, the way things happened, the story itself was very, at first, shocking. At first, completely and utterly unexpected. And then very predictable.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I'm going to be honest. This is not one of my more favorite ones. I actually had kind of a hard time watching this. I found my attention being very... It was not able to hold my attention. Like I kept having to come back to it and rewinding, because I kept getting easily distracted, because it was not able to hold my focus. I like that they play on some of the mythology that is out there, and some of the conspiracy theories that are out there as well. I do like that they played on those. I'm glad that they tied it beautifully into this movie.
Okay.
One of them being a conspiracy theory is that, so to kind of help bring everyone up to speed, we have our main girl Asuna and Shin and Soon, and there's this world that is underneath the earth, and there's these beings and beasts that are basically guardians for this world underneath. One of the conspiracy theories is that Nazi Germany actually went to the center of the earth. Like, they found the opening and that they went in there, and that is where they currently are, because they have colonized the center of the planet.
Fair enough.
So, and
that makes perfect sense.
And they do play on that in here. They do play that Nazi Germany did go actually in here, that they did actually find a way in there. And however, they didn't colonize it. They just brutally murdered everyone in there.
Oh, 100%. I mean, it is what it is. It sucks. Yes. But you got to colonize. You got to, bad people are bad regardless.
Right. Well, but that's what I was saying, right? I'm glad that they actually played on active current theories. It's not just, Hades, the underworld, guardians of death, and this and that, and this is how it is underneath the world. No, they played on real, within the last century, conspiracy theories, beliefs, and views.
It makes sense. And the way that they did things, I feel like it wasn't just one thing, it wasn't just one people, I guess, one war that went to the underworld, essentially.
Yeah, no, there were others. There were dozens of others. But the reason why I say within the last century is because that's the more prominent one that circulates around.
Fair. And I saw some Spaniards in there. I saw some other easier to view, if you will, easier to recognize wars.
Yeah.
And I thought it was interesting. Like when I was there, not obviously I wasn't there, but when I was watching, I was like, how do these people get in there if there's a key? And obviously they said that just like the door in the South Pole, you can't get in with guns. You have to have a key, which tied into the hollow earth theory of, there's a hole in the middle of the whatever. Right. And then you're like, hold up. And so when they're talking to these people and the hollow earth thing is possible, it led me to believe that somehow the people in the middle earth or in the lower earth were ever able to attack and fight off and fend off these people. And if they go to the upper world due to the not population, due to the due to the
hollow earth theory, is that what you're talking about?
No, pollution.
Oh, right,
due to the pollution,
right.
They were always having issues. So that's why you couldn't do anything, because there was pollution everywhere. These gods, these old Quetzalcoatls or the Quetzal, whatever you'd like to call them, kept dying off. Well, and they kept getting sick. And
it's mankind didn't really need them, and the pollution of the earth is actually killing them. So you think, probably rightly so, but you think the reason why they are dying off is the lack of need. They no longer needed. They're no longer needed. So no, the reason they say the reason why that they're dying off, it's not so much that they're no longer needed. They were no longer needed, and so they moved to the center of the earth. And there was a group of people that also moved with them to the center of the earth. And then there's also people that are wanting to go to the center of the earth to unlock immortality, unlock eternal life, or whatever, what have you.
Well, it also brings me up to an idea. Maybe they age slower down there than they do up top.
I don't think so.
Well, the reason why I say that is if you need a key to get in, right?
Well, you need a key now to get in. So yes, after what happened with the Nazis, they decided to close it to make it so that way no one could get in. Right?
Correct.
It's no one else there, with the exception of the older people, which within relative belief, the elderly remember most of it. And then that fear and that go ahead. Explain what? What do you
explain the deaf child whose father was a topsider?
Right. That doesn't mean anything.
But it's a child.
And
if the last time anybody went down there was in World War II.
No, that's not the last time anyone went down there. That's the last major time that anyone went down there. We don't know if others have been down there, and they usually ostracize and get rid of people. And it's happened often enough to where like one or two eventually do come in eventually.
But they lock the doors. Maybe my timeline's wrong, but I thought they locked the doors after World War II.
But that doesn't mean that there weren't other stones or crystals they couldn't get their hands on. Because if you remember, Asuna had one too. And it wasn't one of the ones. It wasn't one of the ones that she got down below. She had it already while it was up there before she ran into Shun or Shin.
I got a theory about that.
Oh, yes, please. Let's hear this magic theory.
I think her dad was from the metal. That's why he died, because he got sick.
So what happened was he went up there, got sick, died quickly, but in that time frame,
die quickly.
That's the problem with Shun. He died quickly because of the pollutants in the air. They can't last for long up there.
True.
They even said that they can't.
My theory on that is that his mom. Sorry, not his mom. Her mom met him at the hospital, fell in love, and because he was an older gentleman. No, because he was an older man, he was his constitution was better built.
No.
So the child that Shun, hear me. Shun went out there. He was able to jump over all this extra crap, right? But he was still young. He wasn't at his prime. He was not an adult yet. You know that children and elderly are subject to disease and pollution and stuff like that more easily than people,
subject to it. Everyone's subject.
More readily than people in their prime, adults.
Bro, have you met adults anymore? Like, it doesn't matter one way or the other.
Well,
it doesn't
why are you trying to put real world logic on this?
Why are you trying to put look?
Why are you trying to mess with my real world logic with your real world logic? That's not right. Only room for one here. I think we talked about this before. Hashtag Rick Facts. I'm just saying.
Hashtag Rick Facts wrong, but that's not the point.
No. You can't do a counter hashtag to that.
Yeah, I can. Tell me I can't. Yes. So the problem with that theory is that Homeboy would have died long ago. Like way too long. Like she knew him when he was when he was still alive. Like she had been years.
Obviously you got to have a kid, otherwise that's necromancy. That's weird.
Years. All right. So years of him being up there. That's not
where do you see that?
Where do you see that for him being up there for years?
Yeah.
Well, let me tell you something about this wonderful thing we called life.
Rick Facts. And
when you grow, you tend to not go from being a spawn of creation to a like 5, 6, 7, 8, 9-year-old child in the span of 2 months.
No, I agree with that.
That's
100%
why
I get where you're coming from. But
years.
You don't have any evidence to say that he was there for years.
Yeah, I do.
I don't remember having any backstory with him there.
Okay. Well, aside from the fact that the mom was there with him, and you see a image of him, with her mom while she is pregnant.
Yep.
And then that he was alive still years after she was already born.
How? I don't remember seeing him after she was born.
Well, that's because you saw them at the grave after they buried him.
Yeah.
They were mourning his death.
Oh, okay. So he was a year old.
No.
So she was probably 2 years old at that time.
No, she was a lot. No,
you've got a good point.
She was a lot older than just 2 years old.
You think 3?
Regardless of how small, regardless of how limited its official years, because you have 9 months for pregnancy, and she's at least, I want to say at least 5 or 6 when he passed away. All right, so
how old do you think she is here?
Well, she's like probably 14.
Okay. I was going to say, typically in Japan, 1 year and 1 day. I could be wrong. This is something I could be very wrong on. But I thought 1 year and 1 day was what you were supposed to mourn, wearing all black. And after that, you weren't.
Regardless, it's still years.
Well, no, I'm building up a timeline in my head. I'm trying to make sense of this. Now, granted, maybe he was never cut. Maybe he was never damaged. Maybe the infections of the Guardians didn't get to him like it did with Shun. And you can't tell me it didn't, because he was cut and he died soon. But he came up to the world after he was already dying.
Well, he was dying because of the toxins in the air, because of the pollution. We don't know that. They said that.
No, he was dying. It was just sped up. We don't know if he was dying before, because before we see him,
we see that he was dying. They said, I watched it 3 times just to make sure I was ready.
I watched it with subtitles too.
So did I. So they said that he died because of the air toxins, because it's polluted air. And the beasts weren't able to, or a majority of them lost their senses because of the pollution in the air too. They said specifically that if you go to the surface and you're up there for a long period of time, you will die. However, they did not specify that long period of time.
Could have been years.
Could have. However, I don't think that qualifies as her dad being an underworlder.
It could be. It's very possible. Now, here's my evidence, or rather, here's my supposed evidence.
Evidence. So, okay, what's this supposed evidence, sir?
The child that was the mute child that was being chased by the tribe that doesn't like mixed things, right?
Well, no one likes anyone from the Topsiders.
Specifically, the tribe that went after the child who had what would they say, dirty blood or something like that?
Yeah, because one of her parents
was a Topsider.
Yeah,
so she had dirty blood, right? I personally believe, and this makes sense, because they went after her and they did not go after the adult that went with her. What? They never went after that man, the teacher. When they both went down there, they were both asleep, and they only took the girl.
Probably because he was too old, and they want young blood.
They never specified.
I'm just giving you my thoughts.
Oh, no. We're going off of evidence here, sir.
Oh,
Your
evidence.
thoughts have not-
Evidence. Evidence. Yes, by all means, let's talk about
what do we have? We only have two things that we can go on to indicate.
Hang on. Well, if that's what we're going to go with, why did they pick her up, take her back to eat her when they could have just ate her right there?
A ritualistic location.
Mm-hmm. Well, why were they going to just plain old eat her in the middle of a empty riverbed?
It wasn't. They
weren't going to take her back at that point. They were just like, yeah, let's eat it right now. So I don't think it's a ritualistic location. I think what it was, sir, was plot.
I was waiting for some educational here's what it is. Time. They had more time. They like to roast them before they eat them.
No,
that's
they
why
just eat them.
The girl was there too.
No,
that's why the girl was there too.
Yeah, but if that were the case, the little girl was taken like the day before, and she would have already been eaten at that point too.
But why wasn't the guy taken?
He's too heavy, too fatty, and he smokes.
Yeah, because they had a problem with weight. They totally had a problem with that.
And he smokes.
You're right. I'm so sorry. They hate pollutants. Yeah, why would they leave the polluter?
Right. Well, why would they eat the polluter?
To get rid of them, because they hate things that aren't.
Well, why would they
so you're saying,
why would they eat the pollution? They don't care about them polluting. They just care about eating the pollution. They don't want to eat the pollutants.
Well, they don't want anything clean. Obviously, that's why they avoid water. Why wouldn't they go after the dirty old man? And light.
Because the dirty old man's too dirty, too poisonous.
Oh yeah. I can. Yeah. They eat poison and poisonous things, but it's too poisonous. They have to wet their whistle. They have to save him for later.
Hang on, wait. How do they eat poisonous things? They just eat people. They eat children.
They eat defiled. Oh, please, if you can find it, see if you can pull it up. The subtitle said something like they eat or they dislike unclean things. I want to say it was unclean.
I want to say defiled. Defiled blood is what I think.
It was unclean blood. Yeah. It might be defiled. But what's more defiling than some cigarette smoke?
Well, to be fair, cigarette smoke or nicotine is actually a very poisonous and toxic substance that actually does change your DNA.
One might say it defiles.
No, defiles putting it too nicely.
Too dirty.
This coming from a former smoker, I can say that with conviction.
It makes sense. This evidence makes sense. The father died young. He had the constitution.
We don't know how old he was. Her dad could have been an old man. He could have been a gilf. He could have been a gilf.
I believe you mentioned the picture we see in him didn't have gray hair. He looked like an adult. You know what? And this goes back to my thing of the time going slower there. He very could be a very old man. He just happens to look very youthful. His time goes slower.
No.
The more we talk, the more points you're making for me.
How?
Because he could have been an old man. I agree with you. He could have been an old man. I like that idea.
Yeah, I said he could have been a gilf.
70-something. He could have been 70-something years old.
Right.
But because they age slower, he looked like a 20-something-year-old man.
He didn't look like a 20-something-year-old man.
What do he look like?
He looked like he was about in his 40s. Could have died from a heart attack from all the smoking.
It's very possible. All the pollutants in the air, they're very bad. They're very bad for those lower siders,
Well, for anyone from the undersiders, but
exactly. So that's what I'm saying. Perfect. You agree with me. You agree.
But that's not how the kid died. The kid died because the pollutants of the air was just too much for him, and he just croaked and fell off the edge of the cliff and died.
He was damaged, and then when she tried to tend his wound, you even saw in her dream, she ripped off his own arm. So she did damage to him after he was already cut.
All right. So what we're saying now is, not only did she repair him, but she damaged him beyond belief by ripping off his arm, and that's why.
She attempted the repair. That's what you get for people who don't know how to tend to wounds, trying to tend to wounds,
Right.
Yeah, you got to crack a few eggs before you get a perfect omelet. I'm just saying.
Right,
a few eggshells in the omelet. I'm just, makes sense.
Right. Okay. So what you're saying is,
my theory is her dad was an undersider.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe he was sick when his mom fell in love with him. Or sorry, when her mom fell in love with him. they made a baby. He passed on. He was able to, due to our medical advancements, he was able to stay alive for longer.
Man, that
and
is
passed on that crystal. We're trying to figure out where she got that crystal from.
She
I
found
don't
it.
believe it's a natural. Where? I could have sworn her dad gave it to her.
I don't remember them saying that her dad gave it to her.
I could have sworn they said her dad gave it to her.
I don't remember ever that happening. Ever. I don't remember him ever saying that.
I want to say when they saw the ark, and when they said that the stone's name translates to key. Well, you brought that? Yeah, my dad gave it to me. Something like that. I could have sworn that's where it came from.
So now we're interjecting what we want to have happen into the movie.
No. This is it could be my false memory because I also don't remember seeing a photo of him.
Well, it wasn't a photo. It wasn't a photo. It was actual. They showed an actual scene, and he's rubbing the belly and talking. Like they showed the whole thing, like sitting there talking. She's like, "I have to be born," and she literally says, "I have to be born."
Oh God. Okay, no, I remember that. Yeah.
Okay. So
also, no. Also in a dream. So maybe that didn't happen.
So her being born didn't happen?
No. That him rubbing the belly maybe didn't happen.
So you're saying that he
also
was
could have been an undersider kid.
So hang on. Hang on. No, they showed him up
his whole life.
No, they showed him up top. They showed him in normal clothes. They showed him on the earth. And on top of that, what you're saying is that he didn't actually do it, that he actually died before she was born, and that he was just an absentee father, and that for years to come, her mother was still mourning, and that she, never having known her father, talks to him every day still.
It's possible.
I'll let you go ahead and go with that, man. That's fine. Whatever. Why not? I got nothing more I can say on that, man.
No. Hold on. What's the main character's name?
Asuna.
So on the Google, is Asuna's father from Agatha? The answer is yes.
Okay. I can just as easily put information out there that says no too.
I just Googled it.
Okay.
The answer was yes.
All right. Why then? Enlighten me.
Why'd I ask? Because I was curious.
No, why? Like, why are they saying yes?
So his name was Watase, Watase.
Mm-hmm.
Was an Argathan who was the mentor of Shun Canon. He later settled on the surface and married a topsider woman whom he had a daughter with. A few years later, he passed away.
Okay. So are we talking about the stuff that came out years after the movie or before the movie? Because nothing came out before the movie.
I don't happen to have. Here, I'm going to send this to you because you might be able to see something I don't, because you're unfortunately far smarter than me when it comes to this stuff. And I am okay saying that.
Yeah. But what I'm saying is, in the movie, they never said it. And what I'm saying happened in the movie, unfortunately, did happen in the movie. I'm not taking into consideration any external happenings. I'm not going, hey, you know what? So, check this out. We're going to go ahead and write this up to make it so that way this supports my theory in the movie. That happened in the movie. Okay. So enlighten me.
He owned a piece of Agatha's clavis, which he passed on to Asuna as a keepsake. Okay, so I was right when they said that when she said that my dad gave it to me.
Okay. Are you sure you didn't read that and read the synopsis and then watch the movie?
Oh, that's dirty. That's dirty.
I mean,
although fair, because I've done it before.
Multiple times before. It's not a
dirty.
Let's read synopsis and go.
I see where this is going.
I watched the movie. I watched the movie. It makes so much more sense now. Now I know why you were so focused on it. Now I know why you're so. It's what you remember reading.
Let's go with that. It can't be anything like, I believe I said the hashtag earlier, hashtag Rick facts. Now that Rick's got facts to back this up and lawyer Rick comes out.
Hang on. All the more reasons help supporting my original forethought, which was you didn't watch it. You actually read the synopsis on it. Because I said, already long had said, that's fine. You could say that. Kept trying to move past. You're like, no, it's true. It's true. It's facts.
All I got to say about that is I'm not right often. So when I am, it feels good.
Well, here's the thing. I didn't have to read the synopsis and pass it off as watching the movie.
Oh, I didn't either. So just curious, when was the last time you watched it? Was it today? Was it
yesterday?
I finished watching it today for a second time.
So I like how you changed your story. I like how you changed your story. You're like, you weren't watching it today. You were watching the exclusive today, sir. Don't give me that. Don't give me that.
I finished it this morning. I can show you. I actually had to purchase it off of, well, ironically enough, YouTube. So I have the receipts. I got receipts.
I have the view
DVD
history.
Probably.
Yeah. No.
Oh, yeah.
No. View history.
What's that?
View history?
Yeah.
It's do you know what history is?
Yes.
Okay. Do you know how to view the history online?
Not particularly.
Okay. We'll save this for another day so that way you can be further educated, sir.
Okay. But yeah, one for me. Woo! So happy. You don't even know.
So, I mean,
guys, there's no way.
Guys, I want you to understand this. The more he digs in,
the
truer it is. Because when I said you didn't watch it, you read the city, he's like, no. I'm playing. I figured.
I was going to say, you protest too much. That said.
Goose in our chat says Rick does know how to view. He's just trying to hide his browser history. Right there.
Oh, man.
No, but I don't remember them ever saying that in the movie. I do remember them not going for a ritualistic eating, them just being plot and carrying her off. Same thing for the girl. They didn't have to carry her off. They could have just ate her right then. In fact, they kept her there for 2 days.
I don't know about the 2 days.
They said that she was missing for a couple of days.
So my assumption with that, I just thought that the villagers didn't like her. And when she was away from the elder, they kidnapped her and then put her over there. I have no idea how Sheen was able to kick down the door after he was able to find him. Maybe they're able to sense I don't know. Maybe they're able to sense the stone. And I mean, I personally thought when everybody was saying stuff like, yeah, you go to the underworld, that's where the dead live. I thought maybe that Sheen was her dad. So like, I thought maybe they were reborn down there and stuff like that. But it turns out not to be true because of what I literally just saw. But,
so you're watching the movie now too? Oh,
no.
Snaps! Oh!
That's hurtful.
And you need to be better prepared, sir. Stop reading the synopsis and just go with your guts.
I was going with my gut, and then I had Google back me up.
Oh, you're talking about the wiki that someone made?
No, it was the official website. Thank you.
The link you sent me is the wiki that someone made.
Oh, that's hurtful. No. Let's not backtrack. I got this in the win column. We're moving forward, like you said, like you wanted to.
Yeah, that's fine. Sure.
Oh, goodness. No, as far as them trying to eat her, I have no idea why they didn't. Maybe they didn't want her getting away again. I don't know. It makes no sense. I agree with you. It makes no sense other than plot why they were waiting in a particular area and why they took her away. But I don't know. Like, it's weird. But then, I don't know. I'm trying to figure out how were they able to sense the stones individually?
It's supposed to be a power or tribute or whatever it is that makes it so that way they can.
All right.
I
don't know. I'm just happy.
But they've never actually gone into like details about beyond that, because the old lady there that he was even talking to, she was blind and said you're not able to see without seeing or something like that. Like the whole area, everything is in ruin. You have these archaic monsters wandering around everywhere. And then at the same time, it seems like even though they have the whole area locked up, that there are still people still able to come down there and visit inside the underworld.
But you would need a key to get in, right? So is it possible that
maybe?
So
I mean, like, that's what they say. They say you should have to have a key. However, that doesn't mean that there won't be pieces or aren't pieces that are up top that didn't float their way up to the surface.
You know, maybe I want to say that when the Guardians die up top, and it was mentioned that the Guardian was a extinct species of whale.
One of them was,
they die,
yeah.
One of them, yeah. When they die, their body becomes forest. They go to nature really fast. But when they're touching water, they actually like hit, they become crystallized. Maybe that's the key?
No, I think what it was is when they were dying, when the beast or bear was dying, it was crystallizing, not so much anything else that it hit water.
I thought that the water portion of it was crystallizing and the part that was in the air was sprouting
saplings,
trees,
yeah,
trees.
But not all of it was in water that was producing crystals. I mean, like, it could have splashed up and started doing it.
That's possible. I don't know, unfortunately. Well, the whole thing was wet, so maybe.
Yeah,
who knows?
It's a good possibility.
But I'm just trying to think, how would they justify? Because which one died, Sheen or Shun?
Shun.
Shun died. So Sheen. They told him he's got no place up top and he has no place down here. So does that mean that he would be one of the ones that would get sent up top? And who knows? Maybe if you go back down, if you go up top, you'll get sick, but you come back down where the water's clear, where you can breathe that water. Maybe it acts as a purifier of sorts, so you can get rid of the toxins. Because otherwise, the air they're breathing up top.
Well, it's not that the water purifies them, I don't think. However, the water is supposed to be an ancient, archaic water or fossil water, which is Vita Aqua or something like that, is what he said.
Yeah, and you can breathe it. The oxygen in that water is supposed to be super pure and super cleansing.
Right.
Otherwise, when they come in from the outside, like the air has to filter through something before it goes into that area.
Yeah.
Like that's my only thought process. And if it's super oxygenated water, that would act as a perfect filtration system. So maybe, again, I've got no bearing for this, but maybe in order to stay up top for a long time, you have to go back and kind of like soak in the water, get the impurities out to try to refresh your fever, essentially, so you can go back and live your life again. I don't know for how long, but they also had guns. Now, I don't know if the gun port of like the technology, how to make gunpowder and whatnot, was there, you know? And I don't know if they got a limited supply of guns or bullets or anything like that.
I would assume that it's limited, especially with
they were firing it off like it wasn't.
Well, to be fair, it was more so the guy, the older dude, he was firing it off more so. He
machine gunned that crap like nobody's business.
Exactly.
But they were firing at him, missing, which meant they didn't have any practice. So maybe the munitions are either not understood or in limited supply. Well,
not the ammunition or the bullets that they were using looked like they were old muskets, and those are not known for their accuracy because it's just a ball bouncing everywhere and then it goes out. So
yeah,
I would assume that that's more so what they're doing.
I'm thinking, I would prefer to think the shield that they have blocked it all. And if you're curious, I mean the shield of plot.
Plot armor. Plot armor. I got you.
This is a plot shield because it didn't even hit him. And the only time they actually got hurt is when the guy had a literal shard of stone go through what I assume is his ankle.
So here's my question.
Break a bone?
Right. Here's my question. So we saw him climb down that giant cliff, right?
Yep.
Apparently he could have just walked down.
Where?
Well, you know what? When they're leaving, they're walking up this really long circular path all the way up.
I didn't even think about that.
I guarantee you, Asuna and the boy and him all did not climb up the side of the mountain. All right, they did not climb up.
That's annoying. I didn't notice that.
That was the first thing I noticed. I was like, wait.
I saw ruins down there. I was like, okay, maybe it was an old civilization. Maybe they're wrong? Maybe the gods don't show up here, that kind of thing. And
No, they
what
do.
happened to that? What happened to that thing's body? You know, like it hit water and like
Evaporated.
yeah, he ate them so that he could help them travel, which was awesome to begin with. But he did, and he looked pregnant. He patted his belly like, oh yeah, that was a good meal, and then did a nosedive. I thought he was gonna like climb down with one arm and just like monkey down there or something, and I was like, oh, that's gonna be cool. No, he nosedived off that, hit a waterfall, and dissipated. And they just like, oh yeah, we're just falling from eons damn near into this pond that wasn't there before. So, and I was thinking, well, maybe the Ark of the Covenant or the Ark, Noah's Ark that they saw flying everywhere. Who knows? Maybe when you make a wish, water fills this basin up and it just sits on the top, and that's how it refuels. I don't know.
Well, it's a ancient beast insect. I mean, like on the top, there's a bunch of drums and jars and things like that. So maybe, I don't know.
I don't have a good answer to what that thing was. It just had a crap ton of eyes.
Well, yeah, it turned into something that had a crap ton of ice.
And then granted a wish. What do you wish? Well, I wish to have my dead wife back. Okay, we need a vessel.
Oh, and the
I'm
vessel
sorry,
that,
what?
Yeah, we need you to give us a sacrifice. Oh, the sacrifice isn't good enough. We're going to take your eye.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you're putting a grown soul into a kid's body, so not enough. I don't know.
Yeah.
And it almost took his complete sight as well, which I thought was
Karma.
frustrating to begin with.
Karma.
Yeah. I don't quite know how losing your sight is quite karma for that. But I definitely do see that a price needed to be paid.
Well, it's not just his sight. He permanently lost it, and he lost his wife being resurrected. So it's not like, oh, you magically get your eyesight back. No, he lost that. It's gone.
It's a down payment. You're not getting that back. But I thought it was quite sad that the cat had to die too.
Well, the cat died because it was its time.
But they said that the cat served its purpose.
Yes.
And I mean, I understand that, but what was that cat? Because it had glowing eyes. I mean, we made a conversation before about glowing eyes and being evil or about to explode. But this cat actually just didn't turn out to be evil to begin with.
Well, they said what it was when they were with the old man cooking. And she said it was a cat, but he called it for exactly what it was, because it was not a cat. Like, it had specific design, specific look, specific feel, everything. Like, it's not a normal cat. She just wanted it to be a cat.
Yes, of course she wanted it to be a cat. We all want things to be things we recognize. We don't want to be scared by it. Familiarity is amazing.
Yeah.
But okay. Perhaps her dad, when he came from the underground, brought that with him.
Yeah.
Or if that's not the theory we're going to go with, it's possible that could have been a guardian at one point in time. What do you think?
Man. I don't know. This whole thing honestly has just left me with like more questions than anything else, without any real resolutions.
Well, if you read the synopsis.
That's true. I should have read the synopsis like you. That is true.
Oh God. Yeah, no, I mean, I didn't mind this. It was a good story. I thought some of the theories that they brought forth were interesting to think about. Ironically enough, a buddy of mine back when I was a kid actually believed in a god called Quetzalcoatl, and he was Aztec, like straight, like legitimate Aztec Indian. And he told me about Quetzalcoatl and the pantheon of their gods and stuff like that. And so when I saw on the subs, they're like, yeah, this is a Quetzalcoatl. I was like, oh, they just broke up that god's word. So now it's instead of being a Quetzalcoatl, we have a Quetzal and a Coatl. And then the English, they're like, it's a Coatl. Like, that's not what you wrote, but okay. So they brought in a lot of different religious names and ideas together to make this story. I think they did a damn good job, to be honest. So yeah, I don't know where the wish came from, but
the wish? What do you mean? What do you mean you don't know where it came from?
Like, was it from the god?
Yeah. Well, yeah, technically.
Like what?
It's from the arc thing. It came down, turned into a eyeball thing, added another eyeball to its collection.
Yeah. You know what? Yeah. Eye for an eye. makes the arc see a lot of things. So yeah, I think I think we're winding down. I think I don't really have too much more.
I really don't have too much more either. So in keeping with tradition, sir, on a scale of up to 10, how would you rate this?
Before I started talking to you, I was going to give it like a 9, but I'm going to push for a 7. I think it's better than normal. I think it's way better than your average, just based on the backgrounds, the attention to details. The fight scenes, while very short, were very intense, and I liked that they would transition from a gunfight to a sword fight to a fist fight, and I liked the fact that it was very even. That even though the guy had a gun, when the kid showed up with a sword, he was like, "I'm gonna put this away," and it showed a respect that even though, at least subliminally, it told me that even though they're fighting on opposite sides, they see each other as equals. And even though you're fighting a kid, you're not going to unjustly take an advantage, because in the past, the topsiders came down and unjustly fought. They didn't fight fair. And here, fighting fair seemed to be very important. And they made sure not to leave anybody dead, because they see taking life as the biggest taboo. And it will evict you from any place you might have in the underworld or on the top side. I thought that was pretty cool. And yeah, that's why I'm giving it a 7. And you?
I'm giving it a 1 because it's horrible. No, I'm just playing. For me, I'm going to go with I'm also going to go with the 7. I just have way too many questions, too much unknown, too much just didn't really feel right to me. The plot that was just baked into it just kind of threw me off. You know, it just made me kind of question all the more what was going on than anything else. I crave the answers, you know, and I'm obviously not getting any answers.
True. Yeah, that is kind of your sticking point sometimes.
And yeah, that's honestly why I'm gonna go with. I'm gonna match you 7. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we'll nice. Go with that. We'll do that. We'll match it. I'll match it. 7. Now next week's choice.
Okay.
I don't know anything about it. I know absolutely nothing about it. I clicked on anime movies and this came up.
Okay.
It's called Book Girl.
So descriptive.
Right. I can't know that else.
Oh God. So descriptive.
Very. All right. Well, that's all the time that we got for today. Thanks for hanging out with us. I know this is going to be definitely, as CJ says in our chat, this is going to be a thick boy for sure. This is going to be a thick one. We'll see if I can't trim out some of the fat, some of the synopsis reading, and
yeah, the synopsis. Yeah.
But seriously, thanks for hanging out with us. We really hope you enjoyed this week's choice. If you feel like we got something right, something wrong, did it too much justice, not enough justice, feel free to let us know. featuredanimepodcast@gmail.com, at those anime guys on Twitter. Featured Anime Podcast on Facebook. We have a Discord. We're always hanging out in there, chatting, hanging out, and everything else. Feel free to join us. The link for that's going to be in the show notes for you. We also have a shop.featuredanimepodcast.com, where you can buy all the merch you want from us. We do have some new coming out. Got some stuff in the works, hopefully sooner rather than later. If you want to buy the movie that we actually talked about, we do get a little bit of a kickback. We do have some affiliate links for you inside the show notes as well as a link to where you can actually submit all your anime recommendations to us to help keep us on track with everything that's going on. It helps definitely helps me keep an eye on all the different recommendations that are coming in. So feel free to recommend all you want. And until next time, I'm Jack.
I'm Rick, and we'll see you next time.